The oil of the day is deep blue. Yes, and I would have to say that this is my favorite, but I really can't say it's my favorite, and that's because it's my husband's favorite, and if I steal his favorite, then I'll get in trouble, right? So I love deep blue, but it is my husband's favorite. And let me tell you why it's my husband's favorite. I actually call this the man's oil, and it's because many times there will be men who try oils, don't like them, think they're a little crazy, but once they try the deep blue, all of a sudden, wow, they love them. So my husband is one of those. He was up on the roof one day. We were in an area where our roof was taken off through a storm, and he decided he was going to fix it himself. Now that's another whole story in itself altogether, which we won't go into, but he came off that roof about 8 hours later, and I will never forget, he couldn't even stand up straight. He was leaning over and like, okay, this hurts. And I said, well, let's put some oils on. And he's like, no. Back then, he was not into using any oils at all. That was like not even a thought in his mind. So he went and he took some, I don't know what he took, something he popped in his mouth, and he went to bed. And the next morning, the pain was still there. So I said to him, honey, we need to try some of these. Let's put them on. Let's see how they work. And no, didn't want to. Well, we went to a training that day, and he was standing up against the wall because his back was not feeling so good. And after about 2 hours, I went over to him, I'm like, take this oil and go in the bathroom and put this on. And he did, because he's a good husband and he obeyed, right? So he went in the bathroom, he came back in, he stood against the back for a little while. Then he came and sat down and he said, what was that? Wow. And that was it for him. After that, he was totally hooked onto oils, and mainly because of this oil. So let me tell you what it's used for, why, and what's in it, and how you would use it, okay? So this is, first of all, our 5 milliliter oil. Then we have the 10 milliliter roll-on. And then we also have our deep blue rub. And we also have something I'm going to talk a little bit later, but our deep blue polythenol complex, which is not an oil, something totally different. And we'll talk about that. So when do you know when to use which one? Like, should I use the small one? Should I use the roll-on? Let me tell you the difference. We first started with just this, and we found out that sometimes when you're using this, because typically you will put it on your hands, and then your hands, would have the oil on it, and then you couldn't touch other things. So then it became really cool to have this roll-on where you didn't have to touch it. So you could just roll it on wherever you felt that discomfort somewhere in your body, and then your hands didn't touch it. Awesome. Well, then we also realized that these absorb really quickly. Wherever you put them, they just kind of disappear because they get right into your system. That we needed a rub that would not absorb so quickly. So this one is something that you would use when you're doing a large area, for instance, a back. If you're rubbing it on your knee or your leg, where you just don't want it to absorb so quickly, this works great. So why would you put deep blue on? So let's talk about this a little bit. So basically what this is for is any type of uncomfortable muscle or joint pain. Now it could be in your shoulders. Some ways that we use them is maybe after work. When you come home and you just feel exhausted, tired, your muscles hurt, it all depends on what kind of job you have, right? Maybe after a workout. So you go to the gym, you come home, I put this on before or after I work out, and I also add a little bit of lemongrass to it. Works excellent for that. Maybe you put this on an ankle or a knee where maybe it was twisted a little bit, okay, if you're playing some type of sport. Put it on shoulders that get stiff or achy. What about your back? Maybe your back is something that's hurting. And this would be perfect for that. If you did any type of heavy lifting, I know at nighttime when kids have those little growing issues in their legs and they wake up and go, my legs hurt. Perfect for that. In that situation, I would be using the rub. Okay, so let's talk about what's inside of this. Okay, so here is what's inside of it. Wintergreen, and there's camphor and peppermint, blue tansy, German chamomile. There's also helichrysum, and then there's osmanthus. Now, I'm not quite sure what osmanthus is, but I'm sure it's something that's really cool, right? These are powerful oils, especially made for soothing, adding cooling and a warmth sensation to any type of problem area. So when you put this on, you'll feel like all of a sudden it gets cold, and then it's hot. I love that feeling. Love, love, love it. Okay, now if you have somebody who has regular aches and discomfort that's happening, this is what you want to use. And I have a lot of people ask me about this. I'm not quite sure what it is, and they're thinking that it's the deep blue oil put into a capsule. It is not. Let me show you what it is. It is indeed a capsule, but it is not oil at all. Ta-da! This is actually a polythenol complex, okay? So what it is, it's extracts from ginger, from curcumin, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, C-U-R-C-U-M-I-N, that's how you spell it, resveratrol, and then other polyphenols that aid in soothing and aching and any type of discomfort you might have. So you would take that regularly, and I have a little story of what I did recently, and it was not fun, but I will share it with you. So I was on a trip recently where I was carrying some heavy bags, they were about 50 pounds, and I was carrying those all over the place. And then I would sit in the car for about 2 hours driving. And then I went to do a presentation. I was on my feet for a good 2-3 hours, and I was setting up tables, chairs, moving things around, you know, stuff where you're gonna use your back a lot, right? Well, I will never forget that night as I went to bed, I thought, okay, my back is just feeling kind of uncomfortable, just was not the way it usually should feel, right? So the next morning, I then had another presentation to do, and then I had to ride in the car for another 2 hours and then go to the airport. So can you imagine, I've heard many times when you hurt your back and then ride in the car, that's like the worst thing you could do. So when I got home from that trip, the next morning, I could not even stand up. I felt like I was an old lady that was just hunched over. It was really kind of scary. I could not sit and I could not stand. And that was just last week. And so what I did was I laid there. And I don't know if how many of you know me, I don't lay very well. Just laying flat on my bed is just not fun. So I was on the couch, got in a lot of Judge Judy, but this is what I did. I actually got this oil, because I love my little roll-on, and I rolled this all over my back anywhere I had pain, and then I topped it off with the Deep Blue rub. And then I put a heat compress on. I actually have some right there. I'll show you what my little heat compress is. This is a doterra one. That's what it is, and I just heat this up, and look, there's something on there. I heat this up, and I put it into the microwave, and then I just put it right on my back. And then I will ice it too, so I'll go back and forth. So anytime you have any discomfort anywhere on your body, mine just happened to be on my back, that's what I recommend. So it has been an amazing, amazing help for any type of discomfort that I personally had, and I'm now sitting upright. I'm able to talk to you and be able to tell you all about my cool incident. Now here's the thing, I never used this before, never. Like I only use the outside part, but what I've learned is this helps on the inside because of the polyphenols that are in it. Now, what is a polyphenol? Well, I didn't know either, but what I looked up on the internet is that they're like a very important thing for our body. They play an important role in helping our bodies maintain any type of health and wellness. Polyphenols are important as antioxidants. What they do is they scavenge for those free radicals that are in our body, and they reduce the inflammation response in our body. So, what does that tell you about these? It tells you we all need them. We should be using them. So it helps from the inside, and this helps from the outside. These two together were excellent for me. And wow, I was able to actually function after a few days. And it was, thankfully, I had these on hand. So there you go. There's my Deep Blue story. Everybody out there needs to be using these. Any discomfort that you might have anywhere on your body. This is internal. This is external. There you go. Deep Blue.